Hi, everybody.
Thank you so much, Danya, for such a great introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are debuting for the first time outside of ViacomCBS, our team, the Creative Strategy and Cultural Intelligence team, our Culture of Influence study, which is the latest installment in our IQ white paper series designed to add value to our advertising partners via cultural forward thought leadership like this one. So the culture of influence is our second in our series that dives into various aspects of ViacomCBS's IQ business. The first one that we launched earlier in the year was called Culture of Streaming. And in that study, we dove into the landscape of streaming content from an audience perspective, the emotional connections that our viewers have with content, and how they use content to explore and build their identities. And in our third edition, we will explore the culture of branded content. So stay tuned for that study. But going back to influence, we as marketers, we know this is a heavily growing space in the landscape. We see a projected global ad spend reaching $15 billion by 2022, with $3 billion in the US alone. And as it continues to grow, it becomes expansive and ultimately more fluid and invasive, and it's really difficult to define. And what we're seeing is that influence is no longer the sole province of any type of person, platform, location, social status, genre. The creator economy exploded to support passionate creators of all ages and backgrounds. So whether they're called YouTubers, TikTokers, Twitch gamers, Clubhouse hosts, or Instagram pinners, 50 million people worldwide now call themselves creators. And it's really exploded beyond the digital space. We have Mr. Beast, who is a famous YouTuber. He now owns a burger chain enterprise. He started a VC fund to invest and grow in other creators. And you don't even really need to be a real person, which we've seen with virtual influencers like Little Michaela and Knox Frost. And we also have examples like Kelly Girardi, who's gearing up to go to space with Virgin as a citizen astronaut. So it's really safe to say that being a digital creator has gone far and beyond 1/4 of the internet. So far that we are seeing in our study, 49% of Gen Z and millennials said they would press a button to instantly morph into a full-time creator. And beyond these job and career aspirations, the language, behaviors, expressions of creators have permeated our culture and society to the extent that we're seeing licensed therapists breaking down psychological disorders like anxiety on TikTok, and even creators interacting with government officials like we'll see in this video clip.
Come a long way in our fight against this virus. We've vaccinated 160 million Americans. Are you getting this all down?
Don't worry, Queen. It's all right here.
Cooper.
Sorry, Miss Jen. And Jen, don't forget to have fun. Spirit fingers, Mama. We need to get shots in the arms of every single American.
So what used to be considered a side hustle or something that people do as a passion project is now their main gig. That's their main source of income. One of the effects, if we think about what we experienced in the pandemic, is that we saw people going online of all ages, backgrounds, flooding the creator space, making career pivots, or maybe trying out new platforms, or simply just looking for connections online. And what we're seeing is that they're converting that clout and those connections with their fans into credible career paths. And as Kaylin Castle greatly said, an influencer featured in the documentary Who Gets to Be an Influencer, she says, this is more than just kids making videos on the internet. This is the new American dream. And we're seeing this as a career aspiration with America's youth, with 29% wanting to be a YouTube star compared to 11% who want to be an astronaut. And what typically follows this data is a headline in several articles with a very biased piece talking about the negative consequences of online culture and that kids just want to be famous and that being a creator or an influencer is very vapid or superficial. It's not a viable career path. But we had a theory that this wasn't telling the whole story. So we wanted to explore that in our survey. And what we found is, despite media portrayals, being a creator is less about chasing fame and more about chasing freedom that comes with being your own boss. Money at 19% and having a positive impact at 18% are the top motivators for having a career as an online creator, while fame was only 2% and actually the lowest motivator to become a creator. And one of our respondents that we talked to, a 25-year-old Instagram and TikTok creator, said her goal is to achieve financial independence with a consistent monthly income. So what you're seeing here is that this desire to be a creator is similar to young Americans' desire to become an entrepreneur and build a business. 13% of Gen Z and millennials already consider themselves influencers. So we have to ask ourselves, what are the implications for society, the future job market, and for brands overall when that number jumps to 25% or even higher? But despite this evolving landscape, industries still see influence not as fluid, but really through this singular lens. And David Craig, one of our expert interviews, who recently released the book, Creator Culture, said that creator culture is in the eye of the beholder. We're marketers, right? And we tend to see influencers purely as commercial assets. And if you're in the entertainment business, you see influencers as content machines. And if you tend to be in the tech industry, you see them as drivers of growth behind your platforms. But as you can see, this view is very singular and limited for the new influence landscape. So there's this call to action to understand the shifting, evolving world of influence. Today, because of time, we'll take you through 2 key shifts, but the full white paper, which we'll share a link in the chat, showcases 4 shifts in the changing landscape of influence from the perspective of culture, creators, and brands. And lastly, in the last chapter, we showcase how ViacomCBS IQ Influence helps simplify the complexity of the influencer marketing landscape by delivering talent, creative production, and guaranteed media at scale all in one place. And now I'm going to hand it off to Shivani to take you through our first shift of the day.
Thank you, Angel. So one of the themes we explored was the shift in creator culture from everything curated to an all-access mindset. So when you picture someone who is a social media influencer, you are probably imagining immaculately styled people posting about their dreamy vacations, outfits of the day, cutesy live, laugh, love graphics, skincare routines. And while those kinds of aspirational aesthetics are still a part of influencer culture, it's not just a set of carefully curated lifestyles. There is now an expectation to have always on access to a creator's life. And that's due to the rise of a phenomenon called parasocial intimacy. Sociologists coined the term parasocial relationship in the 1950s to describe the illusion of friendship between the performer and spectator. Today, it could be used to describe any one-sided relationship with a popular personality. 29% of Gen Z and millennials feel like they know a creator personally, while another 29% have even envisioned being friends with a creator. So if any of you have felt like your favorite podcaster, your favorite YouTuber, your favorite TikToker was your friend, you have experienced parasocial intimacy. For me personally, that happened when Steve from Blue's Clues on Nickelodeon came back with an episode or a quick video on Twitter explaining why he left the show, and it felt like the internet erupted in joy and healing. So that was my parasocial intimacy. So these relationship-based creators draw audiences based on their relatable, unfiltered personas and high intimacy, which explains why 49% of Gen Z would rather spend the afternoon with their favorite online celebrity than their favorite Hollywood celebrity. And this sense of connection has also pushed content into new, intimate dimensions. So what may feel like mundane content is the best kind of entertainment for some fans. Creators have pushed their connections with fans to the next level by not just breaking the fourth wall, but inviting friends into their private lives and even their bedrooms with this mundane content. So for example, on Twitch, you have Ludwig Aaron, who is a creator with 2.8 million subscribers. He started a Twitch stream with no end date. And for 31 days, all he did was play games and work out, watch movies, and even sleep on stream. And viewers still showed up. On Twitch, where viewers often watch gaming influencers like Ludwig play in real time for hours on end, this is a captive audience. So in 2020, we saw Twitch audiences watched over 1 trillion minutes of video content, which is almost double the time spent in 2019. And on YouTube, viewers can even catch Bethany Gaskin, who is this American mukbang star. She's earned millions of dollars by chewing on giant crab legs and all kinds of shellfish on camera every week for YouTube. She even has Cardi B amongst her subscribers. And even deep cleaning is entertainment. So on TikTok, you have videos like laundry stripping and plug hole cleaning that account for 7.6 billion views, and they feature grotesque but satisfying content called clean talk. So when it comes to mundane content like this, there's something for everybody. And when we asked people in our survey, we also discovered that fans have watched their favorite creators perform all sorts of seemingly mundane activities, from eating and shopping to watching shows and even doing their laundry. So to see how this intimate parasocial relationship can directly drive sales, you can head to Book Talk creators or teen influencers on TikTok who are really passionate about books. They share these emotional, authentic responses about their favorite books with their fans by crying or talking about them on camera, which leads big publishers like Barnes & Noble to take notice, promote them more, and sell tens of thousands of copies a month. So a clear case study in how parasocial relationships can drive revenue. And while the sense of intimacy and these unfiltered journeys help people feel more connected and less alone, what does this mean for creators? An all-access culture can often mean always-on expectations. And as users find joy and comfort in raw real-time content, it also means that their binge-watching behaviors is extending into watching creator-led content, where they're starting to expect consistent entertainment from their favorite creators. So 75% of Gen Z and millennials said that they would be deeply disappointed if the influencers they followed suddenly stopped creating content, while 31% have even felt withdrawal while waiting for new content to hit their feeds, as SpongeBob here so accurately depicts. So as creatordom has grown to the scale we know today, it has also created more competition. So on TikTok's creator marketplace, brands can browse through a catalog of the most popular creator profiles, which positions people as commodities. New is also a platform which kind of acts like a human stock market where fans can vote on the creator's day-to-day decisions, like a live choose your own adventure game. And you also have Breezy House, this content house in LA, which launched Dare Me, which is an app that lets creators monetize dares given to them by fans, which really ups the ante on fan-controlled experiences. So this kind of commoditization points to emerging challenges facing the next generation of creators in our new passion economy. And as always on expectations from content creators, we've seen this may lead to burnouts and breakdowns. As creators mature, they go through real life struggles. We've seen this in Sweat, which is a documentary based on the life of a fitness motivator, Sylvia Zajac. It tracks her rise to online fame and how she juggles the demands of eager fans and sponsors while revealing the pressures of keeping up with influencer culture. Traditional celebrities, right, they may have breaks between shoots and schedules that account for some kind of downtime, but for creators who are churning out a constant supply of content, which may not always bear well for their psychological well-being. So this is Alicia Murray, a lifestyle blogger on YouTube, explaining why she's taking a break.
I knew I was going to cry, but I didn't think I would cry this soon. I don't know how long this break is going to be. Like, in my head, it's only a month-ish, but, like, who knows if I need more time or anything like that, or maybe it's only a week. Like, who knows? I really don't know. I love this channel so much. And I love YouTube so much. Why did I do my makeup? Oh, you guys are probably so confused. Oh my god. Okay, so I don't know. I feel like some of you guys have noticed, especially if you watch my vlog channel, like I've barely been uploading on my vlog channel. I don't know, a lot's changing. And when I think of this channel, I love it so much. And it's given me so many amazing opportunities and stuff. But creatively, I'm just not in it like I used to be. And I used to be so proud of every single video that I'd upload. And now looking at everything that I'm uploading, like, I'm burnt out. Honestly, the other day I sat down, I was like, wow, what do I upload this week? Like,
so we've seen how the creator-follower connection is a deep, emotional one, and it's not as superficial as the media oftentimes portrays it. If parasocial relationships between online creators and followers lend themselves to more opportunities for vulnerable conversations, marketers must remain attuned to the intimacy of these relationships by creating or facilitating a culture of open sharing. And if these depictions seem superficial or opportunistic, brands and media can disrupt these tropes to showcase the power of that influencer follower relationship. And if we are seeing that creators are forging deeper relationships with their followers, existing quantitative metrics might not tell that whole story of connection, for example, likes or clicks or follows. So, what kind of metrics might replace today's KPIs to take into account the real impact that influencers and content creators have on both their followers and culture at large? Angel will now take us through another shift.
Our next shift is from exclusive to inclusive, and this shift takes into account all of the industry mishaps, creator callouts, platform strikes, and that's an attempt to fix the lack of diversity that exists within the creator community, to put an end to the inequalities like pay disparities, and reevaluate discriminatory platform algorithms that often replicate, unfortunately, Hollywood's exclusionary culture that favors the white, wealthy, heterosexual, cisgendered, and able-bodied. But thankfully, America's racial reckoning has forced the influencer marketing industry to evolve from benefiting a select few to elevating every kind of creator. And as these content creators arrive on the scene, brands and platforms are following suit to amplify and support a more diverse set of creators, all in the effort to build a more inclusive and social media ecosystem. And what we're seeing is that multicultural audiences specifically, they want to feel seen in these online spaces because they typically don't see themselves represented in mainstream media. 29% of multicultural consumers have sought out creators who share their ethnicity, race, gender identity, or religion in order to affirm their own identities. And if you compare that to white consumers at 15%, it's a significant difference. And we're also seeing that with younger consumers of all ethnic backgrounds driving the demand for diverse creators. Gen Z and millennials consume content from Black, Latinx, Asian, gay, trans, and neurodiverse creators at a much higher rate than Gen X and boomers. And one of our respondents, a 22-year-old from Florida, says she recently followed a Palestinian creator in order to learn about the struggles that they deal with day to day. And like our 22-year-old respondent, those actively seeking diversity of all kinds are turning to creators in order to expand their worldviews, to learn about, become more empathetic to others' lived experiences. 36% of Gen Z and millennials have followed an influencer for the purpose of learning about and understanding someone from a different background. And 23% have gained empathy for groups of people they don't belong to. And here we'll watch a TikTok from an indigenous creator educating people about her culture.
A lot of people think this is the Eskimo kiss. But we wanted to show you the real Inuit kiss, and it's called kunik. Usually it's done with a lot of emotion. You want to show? Mm-hmm. Like that.
And this intimate understanding of lived experiences can also lead followers down paths of self-discovery and even self-diagnosis. And here we'll watch a video of a Gen Zer on what she learned about herself from merely just watching TikTok videos.
Stitch this and tell me what you've learned about yourself since joining TikTok.
That I'm a lesbian with ADHD. No, really, like, I'm getting diagnosed for ADHD. Doctors like you are textbook ADHD. All of which I learned from TikTok. Had a bit of a suspicion that I might be a lesbian.
And from the creator standpoint, what we're seeing is that these underacknowledged, underfunded creators, they want to become entrepreneurs as well. They want to break into the influencer community. So we have creators like Gen Z historian Khalil Green, whose videos are a call to action on how to be more inclusive. We have creators like Jury Curious, who's carved an online niche for herself in fashion as a disability activist, and she advocates for accessible design. And another example, model and influencer Chella Man shares his experiences as a trans and deaf Jewish person of color. So by making it in an industry that really wasn't built with them in mind, diverse online creators are building a more equitable future for all types of people. We have examples like Beyonce's choreographer, Jaquel Knight, who partnered with Logitech, the consumer electronics brand, to help BIPOC choreographers gain credit for viral dances on TikTok by copywriting their iconic dance moves. And think about pay disparities amongst influencers and biased algorithms. That means that social media isn't an equal playing field. So we have community-led initiatives like FU Pay Me, which is a Glassdoor for influencers that's helping close the gap by holding brands to be accountable and transparent with their pay rates and fighting the power imbalance affecting specifically young, inexperienced female creators. And this pay disparity in influencer marketing has also inspired Black Gen Zers with smaller followings to create their own content houses like the Collab Crib in Atlanta. And they were recently featured in a New York Times documentary, Who Gets to Be an Influencer? And we'll watch a little clip.
The influencer industry is exploding and it is worth billions of dollars.
The challenge is making it in an industry that's not made for us.
On social media, Black people haven't got what they deserved yet.
I make dance challenges and I just seen everybody doing my challenge and I'm getting no credit for it.
Being a part of a Black creator crib, there's a lot riding on us. We don't get a second chance at this.
So what does this mean for brands? As marketers, we need to ask ourselves, so if these influencer partnerships are opportunities for teaching and learning, then we need to create and pioneer creator programs with radical representation as the end goal in order to drive empathy and understanding of different lived experiences. One case study to honor Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, ViacomCBS and Spotify created a content hub to showcase leading AAPI voices, including artists, podcasters, and even their own AAPI identifying employees to share their stories about why they are proud of their heritage, as well as a podcast show featuring episodes that address racism and xenophobia. So for brands looking to create truly inclusive content, it means allowing misrepresented communities to control their narratives and advocate for their audiences in their own communities. It's important for brands to champion all types of diversity and amplify the voices of those whose stories are rarely told, and think of communities like neurodiverse, disabled, and indigenous communities. And it's important to remember that when looking at these communities, not all social media audiences aren't the same, and different communities have very nuanced ways of communicating across platforms. So it's important to stay tuned into your audiences, particularly when addressing specific communities. And lastly, BIPOC creators are not only underrepresented, but they're oftentimes flattened into proxies for their racial identities. So it's important to invest in sustained relationships with BIPOC creators, but don't solely turn to them for their racial identification. It's important to highlight their interests, their talents, and their joys of their lived experiences. And I'm going to hand it off to Shivani to take us through a very quick overview of our other two chapters.
Thanks, Angel. So we just had a sneak peek of two of these four critical shifts, and I am taking us through a very quick overview of the other two before we wrap up the session and move into Q&A. And one of them is creator to corporation. So what used to be a side hustle, we now know, is not just the main gig, but the foundation of an entire business. Creators are in a new phase of brand building as they step into the land of corporate power and build out their own business viability. This is a quick snapshot, and in the report, you'll read more about creators becoming the new business moguls. So far in 2021, 50 creator-focused startups have seen investments to the tune of $2 billion. And influencers aren't just getting VC funding or signing with top talent agencies, but they're launching their own IPOs, like Italian lifestyle influencer Chiara Ferragni, who will be launching her own IPO to monetize this persona that she's built over a decade on Instagram. And we also have YouTuber and professional boxer Jake Paul, who continues to turn his cachet into a content empire, and he even signed with Showtime recently as his pay-per-view distributor. And finally, no report on influence would be complete without talking about cancel culture. But what does it even mean anymore? We found that cancellation isn't just one thing. At its core, it's often a call for legitimate accountability. But there is often a range of outcomes, from calling out to calling in and everything in between. So in this report, we get into how there's an entire cottage industry around cancellation, and we looked at T accounts and channels breaking down creator drama, at creators like Zive, whose Instagram live interview series really took off during the pandemic, and it even landed a live talk show on Showtime. But the most important thing to remember here is that brands are increasingly cautious about who they partner with, fearing backlash over their associations with problematic influencers. But there is little cause for concern, because we found that 39% of Gen Z and millennials have forgiven a creator after they did something objectionable. And Gen Z might be even more favorable than millennial consumers towards brands. They said they're twice as likely as other generations to say that brands should not be punished for their influencers' missteps. So a quick overview of the other two chapters, and we are now opening the session to any questions you may have. I cannot currently view my chat, so I will let Angel lead this part of the session.
Happy to answer any questions. Currently in the chat, I don't see any, and in the Q&A, none. Oh, actually, one did come in. If you could partner with any dream brand, which would you choose? So we are, as a creative strategy and cultural intelligence team, we really work with our ad partners to inspire and really become culture forward. So I think what we're starting to see is a lot of unexpected players go into the influencer space and really trying to understand like the rules to play. So I think I would love to work with even unexpected industries. I think it's really easy to, as a beauty or fashion or food, to play in this space, but what does it look like from a finance perspective, and insurance, even like DTC brands that are more healthcare focused. So for me, it's more industries that I would love to partner with and really like disrupt those industries rather than a dream brand. And I think that's it. Oh, another one. What advice do you have for companies who may be considering influencer marketing? I think, sorry, allergies. I think it's really important. Number one, download the white paper, plug, and really look at the 4 shifts. I think what oftentimes happens, especially in the media, and I think as older people, I'm an older millennial, it's very easy to discount the relationships that people have with creators. And as you've seen through the curated to all access, it's a very emotional and significant relationship. So it's really, you need to take it with a lot of tender love and care and really be cognizant of that. So I think it's, you know, if you think about documentaries like Fake Famous, even that stat, the astronaut versus being an influencer, really just taking that into account. So that's the key takeaway, I would say.
Yes, I would just build on that, saying this study, I think, is one of the first steps that we are taking as marketers to really recognize the influencer industry, helping legitimize it and help institutionalize it, honestly, with the things that are happening, considering all of the VC funding going into this, considering all of the startups that are emerging to support the livelihoods of creators, the fact that this entire workforce is forming around the practice of influencing is something that if marketers identify and then build into brands as a proper pillar of marketing would be the dream. So.
Lots of questions coming in. I think we have time for one more. After watching that clip of the influencers saying they were burned out, how do you look at partnering with influencers and ensuring their mental health isn't going to be impacted by the work you're going to be giving to them? Is that even a conversation that is happening? So yeah, I think with that, what we're seeing is that there's a lot of expectations with that always on access where, 6% are watching them sleep, which is about maybe 7 million Gen Z and millennials. And people might think that's a very fringe activity, but we're starting to see those kind of things grow. So think about having cameras on you for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I think it's about making sure that you are collaborating with the influencer and giving them enough time and space to bring themselves to the content that you're partnering with, but also making sure that they're being authentic and not just the schedule, but also when it comes to compensation, you also want to be treated fairly, not just from an economic standpoint, but from a respect standpoint as well. So remember, these people are constantly creating content and you want to support them in any way you can through resources and the power that you have in the network you have as a brand.